on the 20th, and we're going to review it, and out the door they,
I understand.
okay?
Well, again, we could tweak this,
Okay,
all right?
yeah,
As long as
Okay.
it complies with the ordinances. and
Yeah,
legislation.
gotcha.
This is good. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Will that be done before the next meeting?
Hopefully. We should be. Yes.
Will there be a public meeting on that? So you read a lot of stuff and you guys talk back and forth, but as the general public before it goes into effect, is there gonna be a public meeting
Of course.
held on it?
That's a requirement.
Okay,
State
thank-
law requires public meetings on any changes to the zoning ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You skipped 13 and 14 on the agenda.
Well, we didn't skip it, it just got kind of sidetracked because Tammy was talking about zoning stuff, so we're still at correspondence. All of that previous conversation was, had to do with zoning, so we'll go to correspondence.
There is none.
There is no correspondence, okay. Employee reports, Brenda, it looks like you're up.
Okay. Monthly clerk report by Brenda Council. Excuse me, May 7, 2018. In receiving the usage billing summary, billing journal summary, accounts receivable summary, excuse me, collections history, tax voucher detail, revenue voucher detail, combined check register, copy of the Bank of Bridger bank statements, copy of the Valley Federal Credit Union bank statements, statement flip, singular, and the statement of expenditure budget versus actual, statement of revenue budget versus actual as reports.
Question. Don't we have a new maintenance employee?
Mhm.
Why isn't he here so we can meet him?
He will be at the next meeting, actually. He had some things he had to do tonight, so.
Did somebody read the water meters, or was that just kind of an estimate from the month
It was an
before?
estimate for this month, but they will be reading those from now on. And things, it shouldn't change that much.
I was
because-
gone for a month, so I thought
Yeah.
maybe it was.
Do I have a motion to accept the employee reports?
We accept the report.
Make motion to accept the Brenda's report, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Zoning clarification and suggestions of change, we've already gone through that. So we'll go with the, okay, we'll start with resolution 480.
I believe this was tabled from the last meeting, but a resolution of the Fromberg Town Council to adopt the Carbon County Growth Policy, whereas MCA 76-2-304 sets forth the criteria and guidelines for zoning regulations and requires that zoning regulations be made in accordance with a growth policy. And whereas the town of Fromberg does not currently have a growth policy, cannot afford at this time to develop a growth policy that addresses the town's specific needs. And whereas this resolution would allow the town to proceed with amending and developing the town zoning ordinances in accordance with the Carbon County Growth Policy until the town can develop its own growth policy. Now therefore be it resolved, the Fromberg Town Council hereby adopts the Carbon County Growth Policy for purposes of amending and developing the town zoning ordinances. A copy of the Carbon County Growth Policy will be kept at the town hall and be available to the public upon request. Let me present to the council 76-2-304 and why I propose this resolution and adoption. Here's a copy of the statute. I knew that we would be looking at amending the zoning ordinances, and I think they should be amended. There are a lot of unworkable sections. But state statute basically requires you to have a growth policy. It's not a regulatory document, okay? It's a suggestive document. But then again, it's not required of local government to have a growth policy. I think when they went back through it, they made it permissive rather than mandatory that you have one. But if we want to proceed right, you need something in place. It's up to you whether you pass this resolution or not. I think it just puts you on more solid ground. I think there were some objections to the county growth policy, but I do know that in 2015, they're required to review it every 5 years. They passed and approved it. It hasn't been challenged. I've talked with Alex Nixon, he's the county attorney. He hasn't heard any challenges to the county growth policy. But I leave it to you whether you wish to go with the growth policy of the county.
You know, from what I understand in the, there's a lot of things that we're gonna have to do, you know, possibly hire people and cost us money that we don't have. And,
What are you talking about?
well, if we get a zoning policy that says we have to have certain things,
Again, it's regulatory. It's not, you're not required to follow it, okay? It's something that you
why would we want it
can,
if we're not even required to follow?
because it says you're supposed to do your amending of your ordinances, you know, with reference to a growth policy. That's what,
Well, we could still reference it without actually having a growth policy, couldn't we? Follow its guidelines, those that we like, I guess, or?
I think that, I guess, one concern that has been brought to my attention by someone was that if we needed growth policy, the town's been writing and amending and rescinding and rewriting their own ordinances and code for years and years. So why now do we have to have this?
this is specific to the zoning type, okay? And state statute requires that regulations, zoning regulations, and amending zoning regulations be done pursuant to the growth policy. Again, I'm saying it's not mandatory, but it's recommended. It's up to the council whether it wishes to do so.
I personally am not in favor of the growth policy.
I agree. I'd say sit on it a little bit more, because I mean, it's not like there's a window where you gotta sign into it like this meeting or next meeting. I mean, it's something that I think would definitely be, then if there's examples for us to cite on it, like especially on the zoning, like what we're coming up with now, Or we can look at it and go, well, if we'd have been in this right here, we wouldn't be in this problem. And I think if we kind of look at it more, it would be,
I suggest you look at the county growth policy and what it contains.
so we're actually get more knowledge about it, I'd say.
I'll get a question. If we're gonna get together and discuss this zoning and how it fits with the ordinances and stuff, is that gonna be related to this policy right now? I mean, will it influence what we can change and what we can't change? Okay.
It allows you to change. Okay?
So is it okay, I mean, is it accomplish anything for us to meet?
Sure it is.
I'm a little confused, but.
Yeah, I guess the zoning part, you just told me a minute ago that anything that has to do with zoning has to have a public meeting before it happens. This sounds like this is zoning as well, and there was no public meeting on this. I don't know what's in this hand, and you're talking about voting on it today.
We're not changing the ordinances, okay? There is a growth policy on file that's county growth policy. They've gone through the whole procedure of having public hearing on it, okay?
But we have it, right?
No, you have not, the county has, okay? And they approved it, and what I'm saying is, you need one. If you want to pay the money to develop your own, you're looking at $10,000 to hire somebody
And
to
to implement it, how much is it gonna cost to implement a growth policy?
implement.
About $10,000.
It's a,
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, it's gonna
to
cost.
develop your own, yes.
No, to actually implement, we implemented their policy, the county's policy, how much would that cost the town, I guess, is what my
I'm
question is.
saying I'm recommending you adopt the county's growth policy that's already in place.
But if my question is, if they adopt
Free
it,
of charge.
if they adopt it, then they're voting on something. But there was no public meeting before today, so if they vote on something today, then they didn't have a public meeting before this. Again, it's a growth policy without a public hearing. I don't know what the paper, Audrey?
Well, the county had to go through a process which involved a series of multiple meetings to pass the growth policy.
Right.
And I do believe, and Commissioner Bullock, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of them was held in Fromberg because the chair of that meeting, the chair of that committee is from Fromberg.
I found something on the for some.
I believe the chair of the planning board is from Fromberg, so I believe that one of the meetings was held here. My question for clarification would be is that if we adopt the county growth policy, and this might answer a few questions, do we have to adhere to every single portion of the growth policy, or are you actually just asking for implementation of the growth policy to address the zoning issues?
That's correct.
Okay.
If I could make a recommendation to the council, it's your purview completely. I'm not trying to overstep that. Adopting the county's growth policy saves that $10,000 that Hope's talking about. It's a baseline. If you guys want to elevate and be more restrictive, that's your authority and jurisdiction to do. If you want to go and find, it's, and again, going back to Hope's point, it's a guideline. It's not a hard and fast rule where something terrible is going to happen if you don't follow it. It'll be mentioned, but again, there's no real consequence to it. You're getting a free baseline is what you're getting. You're getting a free baseline to no cost to the town or this body.
And if you look at the county growth policy, it doesn't have setbacks in it, okay? You're the ones that set the setbacks, determine the setbacks. You're the ones that determine the height of the building, how many different use districts you have. It's basically saying this is your population. You got this much open space in the county, you have this much, these many communities and so forth. It's a guideline.
But I guess my question, I still haven't had my question answered, I guess. My question is, if they adopt this without us even, the citizens even knowing, if they vote on this today, then they're voting on something that has to do with the growth policy, and that would still, even guidelines to growth policy, shouldn't there be a public meeting? I guess should there be a public meeting, not them just to vote on something we haven't seen yet.
So this is a public document. In statute, it's allowed for. In statute, the revision of is there. You can go to county administration building anytime, all the public.
Well,
all the-
I read the growth policy.
So you know what's there.
Yeah, I know Carbon County's growth policy, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's supposed to be notified like a week in advance in the newspaper, and then it's supposed to have a public meeting, and then it's supposed to be able to be brought up in front of the council. That's what,
that's if
Montana law
that's if they're
states.
adopting a brand new growth policy. What they're doing is they're adopting a growth policy that's in place. It's already been
Right, we're not
advertised in
writing
public
new
meetings.
policy.
Yeah, this is not a new policy, this is not new information, it's information that's out there and available.
So the information's already out there, and if we adopt it, then we can pick and choose things out of it that we like and we don't like, or whatever, how we wanna use it.
What you're going to see from here on out in amending the ordinances, if you adopt the county growth policy as, we've looked at them, we've looked at what they have to say, and we're doing our best to follow those guidelines, but in this case, we may deviate, okay? But we've consulted it before moving to them.
I have a copy in my office.
If you want to table this, have an opportunity to look at the growth policy that's in place.
I'd say table it, I move the table, it, just to give it a little more time, like, just what got clarified between you two talking right here was huge, like, when I tried to, all I read was the growth policy itself, and it was just a little overwhelming out the gates, but I didn't know that this was exactly what we were doing, so I think a little more time would be best for everybody. So I moved that we table, resolution 480.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to table 480 and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, resolution 481, requesting distribution of bridge and road safety and accountability program funds, and this is from Department of Transportation for our grant funds. Whereas the road and bridge safety and accountability account created by HB 473 requires the Montana Department of Transportation to allocate accrued funds to cities, towns, counties, and consolidated city-county governments for construction, reconstruction, maintenance, and repair of rural roads, city or towns, bridges and alleys, or roads and streets of the city, town, or county, unconsolidated city-county governments that have responsibility to maintain, and whereas city, county, town, or consolidated city-county government that requests funds from the Road and Bridge Safety and Accountability Account must match each $20 request with $1 of local government matching funds. Whereas the city, town, or county, or consolidated city-county government requesting distribution of allocated funds may make a request to the Department of Transportation between March 1st and November 1st of the year. The funds were allocated, and whereas a description of the projects to be funded and the monies used to match federal funds and detailed in Appendix A, attached project list, we've already done that. And whereas the local match for allocated funds has been budgeted from our budget, therefore it now be resolved that the town of Fromberg requests distribution for its share of allocated bridge and road safety and accountability funds to be used for the projects identified in Appendix A. This is called a BARSA fund, and it's legislative allocation for extra gas tax funds that are given, requested to, we're gonna request distribution for funds to the town so that we can get some extra funds to do our roads and streets and get them back to decent condition. And this is what I've applied for. We are now asking the council to pass a resolution so we can send our distribution application in and get those funds as soon as possible so we can get started on some of that stuff. That's what this is all at. And we're looking at Carbon Street and Missouri Avenue, parts of the Kids Court at Fromberg School, and other streets, and to do some street cuts, fill, overlay, and get some of the other projects done around town. And it won't all be in one fell swoop. We could do that, but we have to take out a loan with rural development. But we'd like to get as much done this year as we can. So that's what this allocation of funds is for. And just need a motion to,
So how much are we looking for?
we're looking at $3,992.26.
That's how much we gotta put up?
No, we gotta put up 5%, which is about $199.95.
Sounds like a pretty
But
good
if
deal.
they want to give us $4,000 for a couple $100, yeah, let's take it. We can get some more, get some more done with that, and we have to use all that gas and oil tax anyway for street maintenance and things like that, so.
And that goes on top of our,
That goes on top of what we already have in the budget, yes. It's an extra allocation of funds done through the legislature.
I make a motion to accept resolution 481.
Second, or second.
Same difference.
Bell on all.
Same difference.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept resolution 481 for the BARSA funds through legislative program HB House Bill 473. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion is passed. Okay, and we are, have we decided to table 276 until the zoning committee gets with you and you guys go over that, or do we want to go ahead and look at that now?
I'd like you to look at it now because
Okay,
this doesn't have to do with the amendments that she proposed
okay,
necessarily. You want me to go ahead and read it?
yes, please.
Ordinance number 276, an interim zoning ordinance to provide the town with procedure to follow in reviewing and approving zoning applications. Whereas MCA 76-2-306 allows the town, in order to protect the public safety, health, and welfare of the town's citizens, to enact interim zoning ordinances without following the procedures otherwise required prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. This interim ordinance is no longer in effect 6 months from its adoption. However, after proper notice and pursuant to a public hearing, the council may extend the interim ordinance for 1 year. That's under MCA 76-2-306, parent 3. Whereas this interim ordinance will allow the town to have an interim procedure in place to review and approve zoning applications while the town studies and develops new zoning procedures and regulations. Whereas upon the date of adoption of this interim ordinance, the town shall follow the following procedure in reviewing and approving or disapproving zoning applications. Number 1, zoning permit required. A zoning permit shall be required for any construction, reconstruction, addition, relocation of a structure, or change of land use, and for permanent signs of all kinds. Zoning permits shall be applied for on a form provided by the town of Fromberg and are reviewed according to the procedures set forth in this interim zoning ordinance. Application and approval process for zoning permit. The purpose of the zoning permit is to assure that all building construction and development activity complies with these regulations as well as regulations promulgated by other agencies as applicable. Parent A. The applicant shall file a properly completed application form including the site plan, project description, and any other required supporting materials with the town clerk, who will forward the application to the zoning commission for review. B. Zoning commission agents shall review the application to determine compliance with the zoning regulations. Should the agents find the application complies with these regulations, the agents will make a favorable recommendation to the town council for approval. However, the agents may impose reasonable conditions on the zoning permit to ensure compliance with the zoning regulations as well as the regulations promulgated by other agencies as they may apply. C. Once the zoning commission has completed its review, the commission shall make a recommendation to town council. The council will review the zoning application and the zoning commission recommendation at the next regular council meeting. In emergency circumstances, in the mayor's discretion, the town council may call a special meeting to address a zoning application. 3, revocation of zoning permits. Zoning permits may be revoked for good cause shown. Procedures to revoke zoning permits may only be initiated by the town of Fromberg, and only the Fromberg Town Council is authorized to revoke a zoning permit. A, prior to initiating any permit revocation procedure, the town shall have conducted an inspection of the subject property, thoroughly investigated any complaint, contacted the permittee in writing, notifying him or her of the nature of complaints, issues, and/or potential violations, and provided the permittee every reasonable opportunity to address and correct conditions, violations, or deficiencies. B, a zoning permit may be revoked based on one or more of the following findings: that the initial application or representations made by the applicant in connection with the application were fraudulent or otherwise inaccurate or misleading to the extent that the decision to grant the zoning permit was based upon or influenced by said application or representations. 2, that operation of the authorized use or development has become a public nuisance and/or an imminent threat to the public health, safety, and general welfare. C, the Fromberg Town Council may revoke a zoning permit upon approval of a motion by a simple majority where findings and cause for the revocation are set forth in the motion to revoke. D, the permittee shall be notified of the revocation action through a cease and desist order issued by the mayor or his designee. Passed and approved on first reading this 7th day of May 2018. And there's only one reading of this ordinance because it's an interim ordinance. And unlike with a regular ordinance, it's required to have a public hearing and a first and second reading. This allows the town to go forward with something in place prior to officially adopting an ordinance like this. Right now, you have nothing in place regarding reviewing permits, applications. In fact, right now, the ordinances require the town police chief to go out and do the investigation. I think that Tammy said something about wanting 20 days. Is that?
From the 10th of the month prior to the next meeting.
Okay. We can put that on the application itself.
Yeah.
And something like this would definitely keep us from having a lot of the same problems that keep showing up. I move that we approve ordinance 276.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion to approve ordinance number 276 and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion has passed. Okay, we're looking at ordinance 277.
Yeah, this is an interim zoning ordinance to provide a procedure to review and approve variance applications under Title 10 zoning. Whereas MCA 76-2-306 allows the town, in order to protect the public safety, health, and welfare of the town's citizens, to enact interim zoning ordinances without following the procedures otherwise required prior to the adoption of a zoning ordinance. This interim ordinance is no longer in effect 6 months from its adoption. However, after proper notice and pursuant to a public hearing, the council may extend the interim ordinance for 1 year. Whereas upon the date of adoption of this interim ordinance, the town shall follow the following procedure with regard to variance requests. Variances. The town council may grant permits for the alteration or construction of non-conforming buildings, provided such building will not be detrimental to or tend to alter the character of the neighborhood. A person requesting variance must fill out an application for variance, including a site plan, project description, and any other supporting materials, along with an application fee with the town clerk. The site plan should clearly describe the proposed variance. B, the person must also obtain 100% approval of the proposed variance in writing from all property owners within 300 feet from each property line. The signature form must be attached to the variance application. C, if 100% approval is not obtained, then a public hearing must be held on the request for variance. The town council may meet in its next regular session to vote on the variance. That would be the next regular session after the public hearing. And I think there were questions regarding verifying the signatures.
Yeah, I think that was part of what she was reading.
We can revisit that when we look at the ordinance itself. This puts a variance procedure in place. Right now, you have a special review procedure, and it only addresses changing the use of the property, and not setbacks or height, etc. Okay.
Yeah, right back again, I mean, to accept ordinance 277.
We have a motion to accept ordinance number 277 and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ordinance number 277 passed. Do we have any more discussion on anything that we reviewed tonight? Any questions? Jerry?
It's really not a question, but being you're getting full houses like this tonight, what's the chances of getting a small fan in here?
We will put, actually, I'm thinking about putting some kind of air conditioning unit in here. Mark?
I have a question I forgot to ask earlier. As a father of some kids that like to play basketball, what's going on with the basketball court down there with the big pile of gravel that's in it and it's getting all tore up?
We have a engineering and a construction crew that's working on our lagoons right now. That will be done the 1st of June. They, in order to stay in compliance with our grants, they need to have a clean atmosphere, a clean place to put their gravel that they're going to use in our Sager system. And we did not have another place to put that. With that didn't have weeds and dirt and things like that. And so that will be cleaned up. It will be reclaimed by them as soon as they get it cleaned up. The fence will be back up. And I understand your concern.
How about the roads? Is it on that fact, because they're tearing up the roads when they're driving around coming
The
in
roads that are
third.
going into the tennis court right
No,
now.
I'm talking about the road, is it 8th
Street?
Street? Yeah, they're tearing the roads up when they're taking their flatbeds through there. It is breaking the asphalt.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and we'll be talking to them about that too.
Okay.
Because they'll have to repair, that will come from them.
Okay.
They've already set that in stone, that
Okay.
they will reclaim that areas that they've damaged, so.
Okay.
But since we're on that side of town over there, that gravel road down there, what's that, 3rd Street?